Yeah, so we are live right now, and this has been interesting check between. So we are on the verge of AGI, as everybody says, but we struggle to get on on a live stream, and this is what the state of the internet is right now. And we saw a great. Thing yesterday when Cloudflare, GCP, and everything failed, and it kind of amazes me honestly. Like we it's the world is very, like, it boasts around things and says that everything is 99.9% uptime and stuff like that, and those things are pretty interesting to me honestly. But this we are going to discuss something very similar to that. What are basically AI agents, and what does crypto really thinks of it? And today I have some special guests with me, all founders who have been creating into this space. We have Rishabh from Hive Intelligence, we have Tim from Scripted, and we have Prashant from Spheron. And this space is obviously very volatile, very fast, and everybody is creating something. Now, as people who are pioneering this space, or let's say who have boasted that who have been pioneering this space, I would want to do come on the fact check of things, like into around, like, are these agents, are these data ingesting platforms, and also infra platforms, like, what do you think truly is the state of it and the stage of it, like in terms of scale, in terms of actual usability, tangibility, because everybody's doing some interesting stuff. Like, I was going around Hive, I was seeing that this is specifically for off-chain data. Tim, had a call with him. He's doing something amazing on the video side. And Prashant, I think with Spheron, we have been doing multiple things on the application and infra layer as well. So, and this is going to be a really flowing live stream. So please feel free to be like as honest. Something which we tell our guests before the live stream goes live, that there are going to be curveballs in this stream. So, like, please be ready for that. And if there is something you feel that, okay, this is way above the line, you can always act like your internet is not working. We are just kidding. Kidding. But yeah, over to you folks. I think reprimanding back on the same question. Yeah, please go ahead.
Tim, I think you were about to say something.
Oh, no. I thought it was funny that you had mentioned that we could just pretend our internet connection was dying. And I'm actually having a difficult internet experience right now with you all. So I may rug you, but I don't want to. I'll be back. Anyway, let's go. What is the first question and topic?
The first question is the projects that you have been building. Like, at what stage and scale you guys think of it, specifically video, data, and infra, and application layer as well. And what's the user base which you think is right now is reachable, and you guys are aiming for?
I mean, I'll go first because my thing is an app layer that will feed directly into like Spheron and a couple of other things happening here, right? So we have invented a narrowly focused product. It is an engine called Nami. It is an orchestration layer for AI video. It uses agentic systems under the hood. And instead of me spending $10 million to train a new foundational model and try to compete with Hanwhan or Juan, I've figured out a way with my company to unlock the superpowers inside those foundational models so that we can have things like arbitrary lengths. Like, I can make 30-second videos. I can make 60-second videos like Google, right? And I'm a small guy, and I can make them coherent. I can make it so you don't have to train Allura ahead of time to get the same character interactions. I can make it so you can include flux context if you want for rapid swaps. All of these things are now available. And what it solves is a huge pain point for the creator economy. And the creator economy is composed of everything from influencers, advertising, game developers, you name it. It's $1 trillion TAM, right? The total addressable market is huge. And right now, most of the products off the shelf right now, and there are some really cool ones, are still not really production ready for automation, for using agents to just trustably be able to create content on someone's behalf. We are that layer. And more importantly, we're going to allow people to use it in a permissionless way through decentralized payment rails, which means we will be the first video system for agents as a tool that lets people actually just create things without question. Now, we'll prevent illegal things, obviously, but otherwise, bring your imagination and we can do like really magical things. And I think that's very powerful. But ironically, scaling that requires a lot of GPU, and we figured out some clever hacks. But that's why I think we want to be friends with Spheron, Render, Aether, everybody that makes sense, who's providing special value. And I know that there are many projects out there like that do video. I think we're just attacking it in a new way.
Yeah. I have a lot of questions post this, but I'm gonna stick to other guests as well. So yes, Rishabh.
So, just to give you a quick background about Hive, it pretty much came out of a special project we were building at Sharp, and we realized that you need high quality data to build better on-chain agents, and you pretty much need one singular data infrastructure to enable on-chain AI agents. So that's basically what we're building. One unified API. We're going to soon transition to GraphQL, but that's a separate story. But one singular endpoint for connecting your AI agents to crypto data. That's basically what we do. Right now, we are going to soon be launching our own MCP server. So we're going to be on Anthropic, OpenAI, everywhere. Right now, the core focus for us is integrations across the board. Pretty much anyone who's building AI agents, they'll benefit from integrating us. It's a 5 line of code that you just have to integrate, and your AI agents will be much smarter than just random Twitter bots who hallucinate all the time. So that's basically what we build. And we have a bunch of cool stuff that's in the progress right now. We are working a lot towards execution side of things as well, which is making sure that you can also do on-chain swaps, you can bridge assets, you can do any sort of DeFi transactions as well. And we've been building a lot of stuff with a bunch of partners in crypto. So that's basically a quick story about Hive.
Amazing. And Prashant.
Yeah, we saw the problem what team and you guys are gonna quite a year back, and the problem was that the compute is not infinite. So how can we make that compute more efficiently available to anyone around the globe? And there were two angles of it. The one is we bring the compute from data centers, which anyone can basically bring it in. The second was that like AI is a compute, like have to have a lot of compute requiring to even do any piece of work out there, and data center won't be enough to provide all the capacity which the world requires. And the second thing is data centers or even hyperscalers will become a singular point of failure for all of these. If anything happens to them, you are going to paralyze the entire country or entire economy around it, because everyone, even the financial, even stock exchanges, and everyone will depend on it. Then from where are we going to bring this compute in? The simple answer was like from home computing. From I don't know like how many people have seen this. There's a series in which they used to bring the compute from different places wherever they used to bring in. But it was I think they did it in Silicon Valley episode. But we did it at Spheron. What our core focus was that how can we enable every house, every places around the globe, around the world, whoever owns the compute can basically tokenize it, bring it into the network, and sell it to somebody who is in need of it. Now, what is the what is the benefit of it? The benefit is very simple. We suddenly have massive influx of compute coming in. What it brings on a table, it really enforces everyone. It has a beautiful part. Like it enforces everyone to reduce the cost. If they don't reduce the cost, they will like Spiron will win. And even if they don't reduce the cost, then also will win because we are going to be having a cheapest and most cost affordable system. And the third part where we were also very attracted to, we believe in a world where everything is not going to be monolith. When I say monolith, it basically means that a model is not going to do everything. So if that's theory is correct, and it is always correct, it's not the theory which I've created. It's a theory which generated from industrialization like days and even before that. where you need to have a modular system. And once that happens, then we are going to see a small language models. And this small language model doesn't even requires a lot of massive compute. It can be run on easy on a very smaller system as well. And that's where Spheron is going to enable a massive amount of opportunity for anyone who is looking forward to train, fine tune, or do anything around those SLMs. Right now, you have these smaller devices available right out of the box. You can use. And the fourth and the most important, now your Mac can be used and can be sold to anyone else. So that's what we bring from Spheron perspective. And again, it's a very high value add for AI agent and LLM ecosystem.
But there are few ways, like everybody is romanticizing with the fact that agents have become autonomous, and there is so much that is happening on terms of autonomy. Like, at what stage of autonomy are we at? Like, in terms of just not agents, like agents going ahead utilizing their own compute. Then Tim mentioned that they can create videos for themselves, and now, like Rishabh said, like they have already, like agents utilize a lot of data. So from all the perspective, what do you feel like? Okay, this is something what my agent can do autonomously without my permission being on it, because either compute rail, video application rail, or data rail, you think of it like how can agent go ahead and execute a lot of things, because everybody is now trying to focus on that and reach that POV of, okay, this can do things autonomous. And I don't know, it is now sensing like a race to me, because everybody wrote it on their front end, and now it has become something which needs to be achieved. And in that scale of achieving autonomy, like from your perspective specifically, do you think we are really close to agents being completely autonomous, or going ahead and utilizing? Because I personally love what we are doing at Spheron, but I would also love to know like your POVs as well on top of this, and still an open space so anybody can jump in.
You know, I wrote a thesis about this in early 2024 called Autonomous Virtual Beings, after a conversation I'd had with Yohei Nakajima, like the godfather of automating agents, right? And it became a meme coin called AVB. It's a real thing. And I love that community. There are adopted meme coin. I think the first measurement of success we'll see in this is when an agent using its own wallet pays for self-improvement services and they're not interruptible by the original creator, right? And by self-improvement services, I'm not just talking about prompt refinements. I'm talking about paying for the hosting for a vector embedding database or other memory storage systems, and being able to autonomously like add things and then write its own code to change things. And that's a next logical step, probably around DeFi, as agents are able to like adopt new strategies, try new things. I think the next evolutionary path from like that little self-improvement financial loop is probably the same thing we saw with genetic algorithms in the 90s and early 2000s, which is propagation of derivatives, right? Making copies of itself or mixing ideas with others.
But would it only stick to DeFi? Like it, I don't think so. Like DeFi would just be an initiation of it. Like, but eventually it would seep out to other things as well. But why the whole market is only focused on DeFi so much? Like, is it something which is like incentive cycle on DeFi? Is
People, bro, like come on, like people love money, right? People love money. Come on, like if you don't show them money, like nobody's gonna use you or anything. So it's very simple. Wherever there is a direct enablement of money, and wherever you see like your wallet is pumping up 100%, 200%, why don't you? But if I tell you that this particular agent is gonna make you a house, which will take 10 years to build, you will lose the interest, because in the world of TikTok and in the world of it's like now we in the X also we have video swapping and everything, which is automated also. So you don't really have such kind of like patience. So I think that's where the financial instruments come into the picture. But by the way, Tim, I think you pointed a very right point, and I was just writing about that on our chat, but you just mentioned that. I think autonomy is a more of a question of a design and a solution versus anything else, if I have to summarize that. Because if you look at it as a like when we started looking at, and what you have just mentioned, Tim, adding on top of that, what can stop autonomy? It's design, nothing else. Now, what is design? Design is how you fundamentally see a system flowing and working. What is system? System is simply a flow of data from one place to another place in a different format, right? A 0 to 1 flowing from one unidirectional to bidirectional. There's nothing like, now who controls those flow? That's the part, that's the foundation of the autonomy. If you decentralize that flow of that data points or flow of those 0 to 1 bytes around the internet, we can achieve the autonomy. But again, autonomy has a very different definitions for different people. For me, it's that when everything can be run by RPC, when everything can be triggered from the registry, smart contracts, that's when we can achieve the full autonomy. And when I see, while you guys were discussing, I just thought a very small use case here. Let's say Rishabh has built an entire data layer which just runs, let's say if I just make a small transaction and then I just get the data what I'm looking for, but Rishabh doesn't ask me any question around it. The same goes with the team, right? If I execute a transaction on a team side, the data which I have received, I pass it to LoRa adapter, whatever I wanted to generate, and then or whatever these guys have built around the video generation pipeline, I pass the data in, I got the video out. Now you execute the same transaction, and where all of these things are happening inside this Spheron. Now in this Spheron, you execute transaction, you get the compute, right? And the moment you get the compute, you are done, right? So that's what a simple and nice use case which can be built, and this is what autonomy is all about. If there is a friction, that's not autonomy. If there is a autonomy is a frictionless system as per me. But I'd love to hear both of your thoughts around the same. Like what are your thoughts around that?
Oh, in principle, I completely agree. But let me frame this real quick. There is a problem, and the reason we made Nami like the video engine and want to decentralize it is to kind of prove this point, right? That there are things that you want to decentralize that are currently impossible. There are literally things that are too hard to decentralize, and the reason is the three bears problem. It's like dad bear, mommy bear, and like little bear, right? Trusted execution environments are way too small. Zero knowledge proofs are way too strong and expensive and huge. There is a middle ground layer that needs to handle non-deterministic, fuzzy, randomness, anything stochastic. And I actually preceded our company with Andreessen Horowitz's Crypto Startup Accelerator specifically to build a protocol to handle that. But no one knows what to use it for yet, except for these hard cases in AI agents and in AI tooling. So that's why my go-to-market is all built around like video generation, agentic operations, and then we show value for a future network on handling those kind of non-deterministic tasks. And if anyone in the audience is curious about it, we are working on the code base, and the white paper is already out, called commit reveal pairwise comparisons. It allows agents to, like, in a decentralized permissionless way, compare subjective work, the work that can't be proved by math, and still come up with something useful for you. So I care very much about this, Prashant. Like, this is literally one of like my go-to, like, oh my God, I love that you brought it up because it's so important to agents. I don't think anybody really knows yet, though. I don't think anybody is like approaching that problem besides us downstream.
I think they will come to know when Cloudflare or AWS goes down, because then what will happen is that, like, and this is where I basically look at, let's say a flight is flying and then suddenly like your agent stops working because Cloudflare was down. So I think that would be like highest point which should not happen, but in a general sense that, like, if people will come to know, because like all the hyperscaler are very extractive by nature. What I mean is very simple: is that you give them $1, they will look for $1,000 from you, right? So that's a difference of understanding. And while decentralized systems are more giving, it's a social game, right? Where everyone is trying to give everyone something out of it, either it is a form of token, incentive, design, or whatever you look at. And that's where I see, like, people today, they might not realize it, but they will realize it as we progress into the space. Because all of these, I'll tell you very classic scenario. Okay, by the way, we have got time. I'll jump onto you guys also. There are a few questions I have for you guys. But we just few days back I tweeted one thing, and I know in Twitter, like, not many people even know about all of these things or don't even talk about it because they are more busy in farming Kaito points. Um, so we were building this video generating video like app called Clippy AI. I think Tim, you might have seen it. Our team might have shown it to you. scaled at the runtime. We were like deploying that model around 500 plus GPU, right? 500, 600 plus GPU at the runtime. Like we were scaling it. If you have wanted to do the same thing on any other places at the same scale, like at the same, like if we wanted to like horizontally scale, we 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 would have leased by their enterprise team, and they would have quoted us some X amount of money to even build such kind of systems, right? Or you we or else we would have got an offer to get acquired or something like that, because that's what we were like looking at. With Spheron, we did it because it's all transaction based. We were RPC is there. We were submitting transaction, and it was just happening. Like it was, we were getting the compute model was preloaded. Like model was getting loaded, adapter was getting updated. Done. Boom. Done. Let's go. Like 1 hour, we got the GPU. 2 hour, like we got 10 GPU, 100 GPU, 500 GPU, without even one person defining the rules that you can't do this, right? And that's how we look at decentralized system. I should be given a choice the way I want to live my life, and not by somebody like, okay, now I approach at this level. Now I have to talk to some bigger boss to even get the access of something else. Which a lot of people are happy doing that. I'm not. I have never been. So that's the
The
reason.
cypherpunk theory, yeah. The whole basis of the cypherpunk theory was this, like, to do this. But like in terms of you are specifically speaking of scale in a specific scenario, like, which is definitely, I don't know, which is true and false for both of this industry. Like, this industry sees a lot of scale which are into spikes, but into a long-term evolution of scale. Like, are we on that stage that we are seeing a long-term evolution of scale happening? Because decentralization, yes, it's really required, but are there people who are utilizing these for end-to-end product discovery to launch to stuff like that? Like, what's your take on that? Still an open question, but I am curious.
I'll not take this.
I think
Rishabh or Tim.
Tim has rugged us again. It
Rishabh,
was
you
a
can
tough
go.
question.
Yeah.
Tim is
So I
like,
think if I have to
internet is not
distill
working.
down, so if I have to distill down everything about AI agents, it's the ability to perceive, reason, and act, right? And doing all three of this autonomously. That's basically what an AI agent is. One of the earliest examples would be GPT Engineer. I don't know how many of you remember that, but it was like the first adaptation of what an AI agent could be. It was the first, I think, right around the corner when GPT-3 just came out. We saw GPT Engineer, and now we see even better adaptations of those like Manus, which are, I think their domain is still GPT Engineer. But the point is, we are seeing improvements across the board. I wouldn't even say it's an improvement, it's scaling law, right? It's knowing that technology improves over time, and the scaling laws will, again, look at the token lengths, right? Right now with Claude 4 Opus, we have around 200,000 in token length. I'm expecting by end of this year or probably by next year, we're looking at 1 million. And in a couple of years, we're looking at, let's say, a theoretical unlimited token length. And that's where I expect we would have, I see this autonomous, like being autonomous as a scale rather than, let's say, not or yes, like being autonomous or not being autonomous at all. We still have really good tools like Claude Code is still there. We have Manus, which is extremely good at a lot of tasks. It can orchestrate its own sub agents and get, let's say, shit done. But I feel like it's really about understanding scaling laws, and it's really about understanding. Prashant mentioned about DeFi, and what, again, seeing a lot of use cases there. It's, I think, the clearest use case, because we have smart contracts, and you can see each smart contract as a bundle, right? And using a simple AI model, like even like a simple chat GPT, you can orchestrate multiple agents, and you can pretty much create like a product which can do on-chain tasks, right? Now couple that with the ability to reason, which is what I mentioned earlier, the ability to reason and act autonomously, and that will transition over time. I think we would see better and better use cases, and the killer applications are just like evolving over time. I see that a lot of the products that are in like using Hive right now would be, let's say, at the center stage of a lot of the good products they would be able to build on top of us, right? So I think over time you really have to understand the improvements in infrastructure, the improvements in the compute, the improvements in technology overall, because a lot of it's just like you look at the amount of money that comes in to build AI agents right now. You see the amount of teams that across the world that are building, and you will see progress. It just happens all at once. We saw that with ChatGPT, for example, Transformer, the paper by Google. It was, we used to talk about it all the time internally, like back in 2018, 2019. And we were like, okay, there's going to be a use case. There's going to be like a killer use case on it. And for a few years, nothing really happened. OpenAI was quietly building whatever they were building, and they came out with ChatGPT. So I think it's really about understanding that a lot of the teams are really in the build mode and are building, let's say, things that would eventually scale. That's just how I see AI and like AI agents applications in crypto evolve
I'll tell
over
you.
time.
I'll just before we bring it. I'll just very small story which I did not knew while I was not in like I recently we visited NVIDIA GT this year, and there was a talk happened. He relates he's godfather into AI again. He has been like written a lot of these papers and everything. It's like Meta Facebook's. I believe he was in the entire Facebook AI arms and professor at Harvard and all like all of those stuff whatever he's done. The CTO of the NVIDIA was taking the interview of it, so now you can just know like that guy was big guy. And he mentioned one thing which I did not know. He said before even ChatGPT, we launched our own ChatGPT version model, but we got a lot of backlash. And the backlash was, how can you use our own data and all of those stuff and give us the answer like on basis of that? It's a proprietary risk, which basically brings brought them forward, and they just shut it down. And it was before ChatGPT. Okay, so essentially that was built by a couple of like other team earlier, but just wanted to like add a little data here. Like it was not ChatGPT which came in first; it was them who came first, and then ChatGPT following on. When ChatGPT happened, they were like, "What the hell happened?" And these were the team of the researchers like who kind of launched that. But yeah, Tim, any like your points. I
Hold
think
on, my mic was
still-
off. There we go. We fixed it.
Yeah.
I have several thoughts, and I'm just going to follow up with both of you. There's a deeper question about the scalability I just wanted to address for a moment. And we have done a great job, I feel, in the crypto community, especially in Web3, of handling liquidity issues. We have invented every sort of solution for liquidity for finance, right? We have automated market makers. We have DEXs. We have everything you can think of. And, some people ask me, some of these things are still provably not fair. How do we solve that with agents? And it makes sense, right? You could make a smart automated market maker. That's a collection of agents handling a pool that can dip in and dip out as necessary. That all makes sense. But then what's powering them under the hood? And then harder things like video, this becomes more obvious because your demand is sometimes very unpredictable. You don't necessarily know what your total scalable needs are, especially when you're a startup, especially when you're an agent, even just acting autonomously. And having to go to any of the big GPU networks and say, I need to reserve the following blocks of capacity. Or you go to Amazon Web Services and say, hey, I need to file a ticket and I need a capacity block for P5 48x large within the next month. And hopefully they'll be able to fill it if you make your case, right? Those are such heavy fundamental barriers to compute for agents, to compute for a decentralized economy, that I feel needs to be addressed by companies like Spheron, networks like Render and Aether, like all these guys who I just want to give you a Docker container and say, hey, by the way, I now have this list of queued up tasks. Deploy as necessary, right? And the tasks paid me this much. I will liquid pay you right now this fractional part of it for that compute because that's what I've reserved ahead of time, right? I'm sorry, decided what makes sense as the payment for those GPU credits. And those liquid rails, I think, are finally available now, thanks to like the X402 protocol from Coinbase, being able to pay with stable coins for services to APIs. I think now it's incumbent on the resource networks to adopt it really fast and provide me really liquid ways of scaling, like not just finance, but like actually resource usage. I want resources to be as liquid as possible. You do that, you solve a fundamental problem for the agentic economy, right? Because agents will just like pool their resources together and use them when it's needed. The second part, and this is kind of more fun on just the agentic thinking. I think there's lots of ways that agents are going to make money outside of DeFi. Content creation is one of the obvious ones. One of the users in the comments asked, what kind of roles do we see going forward with like the creator economy, influence, and digital marketing, all that sort of stuff. And I think the answer, and I use this in my deck, and I'm just going to share it with you. Coming from a background in AI and video game development, I'm very good friends with artists, so I tend to know how much things cost. And a video game company, even a year or two ago, for a given character to do like a movie quality, like cinematic experience, like Blur Studio style thing for 20 seconds, you might pay an agency $10,000 to $12,000 for that 20-second awesome clip, right? And the reason is you have to create the character, you have to model it, you have to ZBrush it, you have to rig it, you have to animate it, you have to do the post-production. All these things add up at an agency level. And yet now, with like an agentic controller talking to it, I can render the same scene, 20 seconds, one pass, using our tech, and that cost me $6.25 instead of 10,000, right? And that's a huge unlock for the creator economy, as long as the agents are like actually helpful and not hallucinating. And that hallucinating bit is the fun part to solve, right? That's what I've been paying a lot of attention to. And anyway, to avoid rambling, I just want to close it as there is a huge need for resources, and the bucket that you see right now for agents is very shallow. Like we've barely like really launched a lot of agents. Most of them are focused on not even using their own wallets, not even like interacting with the DeFi community. They're more like, here's a service and we're trying to pump up our token value, right? We're going to see a lot of untokenized agents come out that are using payment rails that will make money, right? That will be like humans doing jobs, even if they're hyper specific. And now we have a unique opportunity in time. This is the window where like whoever solves liquid resource problems for agents first is going to be on top of that economy. Just personal thoughts.
Amazing. I loved it because we are trying to solve that, at least on the compute angle. But yeah, man, thank you so much. Yeah, it's quite tricky, but I have a quick question for both of you. Okay, and this is what I just want to learn from when you look at the entire Web3 space as such. Like I ask you today, like you go back in the time, if you haven't given an option to build in Web3 and Web2, which option would you choose? That's one. Following to that, following on to that, if you choose any, why would you choose that? You have to answer that. Okay. And then last again, it basically answers the same thing, but while you guys will answer that, it will also tell that why you are here as well.
You
know that
made everybody contemplate the whole thing, like, oh, why are we here? Like,
No, I just want to understand that in a very. And the reason I asked this question too, I think if you look at our previous guests, like I did ask them the same question back to back, and the reason I do that is because what I want to build because my stream is also live on LinkedIn, and I have a very good like people like in LinkedIn as well. I want to tell them that why somebody would choose what they are choosing, and it has to be very fair. Don't make it up, okay? Because if you try to make it up, I'll counter it. So just be transparent, be whatever why you have been here, and what brought you here, and the same goes like Web3 or Web2. Why Web3?
Yeah, so I'll go first. I don't think it's much different, Prashant. Building a company is building a company. You wake up, you put your head down and you grind, right? You're building a product, you're trying to capture a market, you're trying to win over your users, and that's basically what you're doing day in, day out. In crypto, especially if you already have a token, you have more stakeholders to take care of, a lot more scrutiny on a given day-to-day basis, and a lot more pressure to perform week over week, right? Which is good and bad. Again, like it's both, like both sides of the coin, right? So, but at the end of the day, whatever you do, again, regulatory stuff aside, right? Web3 before Trump, we saw a lot more scrutiny all across the industry. Now there's not so much comparatively, but beyond that, I think it's pretty much the same. You have a bunch of really cooked individuals who are trying to build something great, and it's the same thing. Really don't see the difference. And I think the gap is blurring, right? Again, if you look at, we saw Polymarket teaming up with X. We saw what was the company that Stripe acquired?
Privy?
Preview.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
the margins are getting blurred, right? Yeah, a few years from now, Web 2, Web 3, it's pretty much going to be the same thing. Everything, I think a lot more stablecoin rails are going to be built across Stripe, across X, across a lot of the products. So the lines are going to blur between Web 2 and Web 3. And I think, like, in my personal opinion, and again, I think you will find different opinions from everyone else, but I don't really see much difference. It's really about finding your like niche, really doubling down on it, finding the right talent, and putting them to achieving that one single KPI you set. So that's basically it.
So before we go to Tim, I have a follow-on question, Rishabh, for you. Okay.
Mhm.
You just brought in a very interesting point. I think, Tim, you can also cover it when you start speaking. You brought a very interesting point. In the Web 2, like first thing first, like we should not say that just for in between us, like over this here, that it's not it's not the accountability. Like accountability in the Web 2 is also the same versus accountability in Web 3. Versus in accountability in Web 3 increases just because you have a token and you have incentive models and everything which is designed, because but it also brings another set of problems. The other set of problems is that then you stop, because if have you like if you see in Web 2, the people who do IPOs, they reach to a certain level of capital and then they do the IPO. Now when that happens, they have a team dedicated to do that, while in Web 3 it's not. There are 5-member team who go and launch a token, or 2-member team, even sometimes single also. Like we have seen that a team who goes and launch a token, and they just launched it. They did not expect the same thing it will happen. They dump the token, they will be out of the market because they can't handle the pressure of that people holding their token and keep on complaining and coming over a stream and calling you out, and a lot of the other stuff which happens in Web. And it's Web3 is a more of a bully nature kind of complex state. Whenever you look at, like, if you come from a very nice background, you will come here and then you start saying like, okay, so the moment you launch a token, you will get bullied everywhere, right? In multiple ways. So your token is not performing, bro. Like why you are not working on that? You are this, you are that. Then suddenly they will become racist. Suddenly become something will happen, and we have seen that. Yeah, in my 5 years journey, I've seen that, which basically contradicts what you have just said.
Mhm.
It doesn't sound like the line is not blurring. The line is still there. The line is blurring only, and the company's name which you have just taken, these are financial companies. They are not at all a data company. They are not at all a compute company. They are not at all any other company. The line is still there. The line is blurring because they are owning BTC in their balance sheet. That's a different question. Okay, that's a different thing. But what are your takes on this one? And the reason I'm asking this is because I just don't want to give a false hope to anyone in Web 2 to switch to Web 3 just because of this. And I want to very straight on when I say this is Web 3 is a completely different beast altogether.
Yeah.
It's not same. It's not same. If you're saying same, I would highly disagree on that point. But again, it's your opinion. My opinion is very different. It can be opinion. But I highly disagree on that point that it's same.
Yeah, I think we talk a lot about token design, token mechanism, but we don't really talk a lot about team design. In Web3 in particular, you rightly mentioned, not only are you trying to capture a market, so your KPI is to get the most amount of users, just as a theoretical example, right? And on your token side, you want to make sure that your stakeholders are happy, correct? So not only are you prioritizing your main KPI, which is getting users, you also have to think about, okay, what are the stakeholders going to do, right? So it's really about striking a balance. It's really about understanding, okay, you have to design the team specifically. I think I should write a blog post on this as well. But the point really is that you have to understand that the dynamics in play are much different. It's like if you're OpenAI, you have to hire 90% of them have to be researchers, right? And if you're Apple, you're hiring, let's say, half of them are designers, right? So it's a design choice of the kind of team you have to orchestrate to achieve a desired task, right? So I really think that
So what's as per you is the design team should look like in Web 3? 90%
I think
token marketers?
no, I think you have to demarcate core individuals to focus on core tasks. If there are, let's say, public facing figures, all their time needs to go at making sure the community is satisfied, because the moment they have cold feet, you see the price crashes and everything, right? So on one side, what you need are correct figures who are there 24/7 in the group chats, in the community, talking and everything. And then on the other side, you need individuals whose entire job is focusing on the internal KPIs that have been set for achieving, for example, number of users, the amount of weekly active users, revenue, what have you, right? So it really depends on the organization. It really depends on the specific product, the specific use case, the specific, let's say, sub industry, right? So
So let me ask you this one. Let me ask you this one. Would you build in Web 2 or Web 3?
Web3 for sure.
Amazing.
Um,
Yeah,
and I think
that's what we look.
it's we Web 2 is guarded, right? You have only specific startups coming out every year. And if you look at Web 3, we again, the roots are still having uh, like having democratized access to knowledge and being able to launch projects. Again, we've seen that with meme coins.
Now
Right?
now you are speaking Web 3. This is
Mhm.
what is required. Okay. And you got into that. So the reason I'm trying to make you like the reason I'm trying to again the whole intent here is to let people. So the first thing, it's unguarded, like people, anyone can come in. The second is like it's still early, so anyone who is building business, it's the right opportunity to get in because it's early, right? When it's matured, then it will be tough. So I think the reason I'm cutting you off is because we are just running out of time, 43 minutes here. But just wanted to kind of like, and then you got it. So coming back to Tim on your side.
Thank you, guys. You gave me a lot to think / say about this. So I'm just going to address your core question: Web 3 versus Web 2, and what we're building, right? And I think Web 3 is our critical focus on how we achieve a long. And I think in parts, various generally agree with some of these principles. The first one is how you lower the cost of intelligence. And the second is, like you already said, how do you democratize access to human and synthetic knowledge? And I think the third one, Mark Andreessen's talked about this. A couple of other people have really harped on this, even Elon Musk, that freedom of speech is paramount. And right now, a lot of the monolithic companies are incapable for corporate safety guide reasons in order to keep their brands safe, right? I'm going to use safe with air quotes. There we go. They restrict content unnecessarily all over the place, and they restrict the way that you interact with models. For text, I think it's obvious that politics plays a huge role in that. For images, overzealousness because of the weak ability to control diffusion output for these companies is important. If you go to the Sora video model right now, and you generate an image to video task, and it's a woman, and you say, all right, now spin around, right? A pretty normal thing to do if you're doing any kind of animation. It will say, sorry, content warning, you can't do that, for several of the cases that I've personally tried, right? Because it's like, oh, I don't want to show her backside. I'm like, well, you know what? Like, people do movie scenes all the time of someone walking away from the camera, and yet these monoliths will prevent you from using them in a production-ready way. So my interest has been using models that can be unlocked, not for evil, but for like reasonable use, for reasonable use cases, whether they're mature or not, and letting people have that freedom. And I think Web3 makes sense for that permissionless layer, right? That's what it's really built for. That's the cypherpunk ethos, and we need to embrace that. Equally, I think, and I actually truly believe this, that Web3, outside of some DeFi application amongst our crypto brethren, has not really ever hit a good, like, usable product. You know, there's not really anything that's like sexy enough for people who are like just average internet users to come in and say, I'm going to go through the trouble of getting a wallet. I'm going to go through the trouble of funding it. I'm going to go do this. We tried with games, right? Good luck. We're still working on that. I won't say we're done, but we're still working on it. But video creation, being able to create things without limit, just being able to have liquid payments for it and just say, here's my imagination, do the thing. Now that's compelling. I think that gives us a loop into Web3 that's valuable. And then there's lots of side channel gets if you do this. For instance, a video fails, it has flaws in some way. Normally, in a Web2 situation, they toss it, right? It's like, oh, sorry, bad generation. In Web3, what do? We say, oh, okay, it goes into a subnet in BitTensor or Jensen or somewhere where we can do some reinforcement learning and say, hey, here's the conditions this was generated under. Here's the conditions that we want to fix. And then reward and incentivize humans or like agents to do that work. And that helps fine tune a better control model that the originator can use, right? Those kind of side effects create an agent commerce system. And if you look at what Virtuals is doing right now with the agent commerce protocol, dude, I'm all about hooking this stuff up where we provide one layer of service, but equally I want other agents to provide those kind of components too. And again, there's like a weird layer between app and resources and the coordination layers and like the internet, right? And like coordination layers being like, like Ethereum. There's a weird layer there that needs to be solved by agentic automated commerce. I think we're there. I think we have that in like the next month. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, true. But I'm coming back to again the same question, which I have asked. Is like, would you be given the opportunity to build in Web3 or Web2? What would
Web3.
you choose?
100%. Yeah,
Amazing.
I mean, like, it's very clear. That is the thesis of my company, man. The thesis is that, like, literally, we're building the network. We're building an honest-to-God Web3 network. So, yeah, I'm Web3 first.
Amazing. So, yeah, I would also love to, and I think I do agree from both of your views, right, Rishabh. What I think Rishabh has brought a very nice point around, like whenever you build, and this is for everyone like who's going to listen this out, is if you are building in Web3, understanding the design of the Web3 is very core important. If you don't understand that, don't enter into it. And the design is very simple. You have multiple things to handle at once. There is a parallel execution. If you have a parallel execution thread of 2, and it can run at 16 at max capacity. Just imagine you are going to be running at 16 at max capacity in Web3. So this space is for anyone like who can handle this such kind of velocity, right? And Tim, coming to your point, I think, and that's what Sridhar has also brought in very interestingly, that is it's all about permissionless, man. Like honestly speaking, it's all about permission. Like for me, the reason I was there is the one reason I was here is because of today, and this is what I wrote in our chat is like, now just imagine if you have liquid compute. When I say that, it basically means that then you no longer on the resource level also you are permission. On the orchestration layer, you are permissionless. On the application layer, you are permissionless. Then you can just go and do whatever. Again, it has its own implications, problems, and things which can happen. But the best part about Web3, it's much more safer than Web2, honestly, if you ask me, because it has more control as a governance mechanism than a Web2 company can bring into the picture. If we want to block a single transaction, we can block it from all around the world, no matter what, right? So I think that's the beauty of like Web3, and that's then if I have been given the same question, I would also choose the same, like Web3 first. Now coming back to a couple of questions which some of the folks have asked in our chat. Very interesting question. Like, what is the assume AI in a fully decentralized self-governing? Do you see near-term opportunity or long-term governance challenge? Anyone want to pick this up from Ashish?
I think we are still a long way to go for a fully decentralized and self-governing agent, because just looking at, again, coming to my earlier point of the laws of scaling, right? Um, it's still a long way to go to really think about how would an agent um, operate in a fully autonomous capacity. We still need humans on the other side to orchestrate them, to guide them, and to get stuff done. So I think there are long-term challenges involved, but I think those are long-term benefits, not, let's say, long-term challenges per se, because humans are inherently biased. And I think if you have AI agents part of the governance process, it really helps maintain equilibrium. Again, with certain organizations and with certain, let's say, um, governance policies, it just makes more sense to have specific AI agents who can, let's say, take up some part of the governance process.
Yeah, and I just want to add on this one point on the show, because we have done a very massive research around the same, and it's not very long away. It can achieve that even today. Like I have just dropped an article to go through that, but just to I think this question has to be asked in a very different way. Why do we even need this? Like, do we really need it? Do we really need an automated governance? Do we really need an automated anything? Because if you look at the LLMs or anything like that, if till the time there is a problem of hallucination, time there is a problem of all of these systems which are injected by default, which has an inherent problem of LLMs. Like, can't do you really can like go and build the decentralized like autonomous systems? Answer is both yes and no. It depends what you are trying to achieve. So I have just dropped a link here for your reference, and we'll also drop it for everyone. So we did a very very nice research around like how you can automate. If you can automate the resource allocation process, you can build the automation like autonomous agent. And we have also dropped that entire governance view and system, and I presented in during Denver and every places, like how you can achieve that. But the question was like, who is going to use it? So we just dropped that and we just moved to the no code engine, and designing the same flow, but it is possible.
So as a thought experiment, because it's going to be, like you say, I agree, it's going to be very practical, and it's practical now. Think of the problem from the adversarial context, the same way we do about network security in various contexts. Assume that an agent cannot be governed, right? Just assume that someone has made an agent that is not governable. How was that accomplished? Like a program that has a set of wallets with payments available into it. It has some strategy that gives it enough earning potential to refill the wallets, and those wallets are paying for compute across various services so that one takedown can't take down the entire agent. And it has some small consensus mechanism to check the multiple instances of itself running so that it can have a finality to each decision, and yet that can still be interacting with a blockchain. Those are the only components you need to make an unkillable agent, right? It is doable today. And if that's the case, and it's able to have a strategy to make money, for instance, let's say it makes a website, it writes content, and it makes Google AdSense money, right? And then Google AdSense bans it. Okay. Well, it copies all the content, makes the website. Right? Men can trying to do a job, right? And I think that's one is that they can continue doing things even while we're asleep, right? And that means they can bring value faster and approach that one-to-one with humanity's total value faster than we're expecting. Now, don't get me wrong, Tim's full of hopium. I believe these things. I believe they're inevitable and that they're happening fast. But I've just given you the primitives for how you would just build one, right? An autonomous virtual being. So if anyone wants to build one with me, we can do that. Just DM me, and we'll set it. We'll set one up.
Send Saft, guys.
we have yeah. I if you really want to give a shot, just take a look into. I've just dropped into our private chat. What you have just spoken, it's all there. It's all built. We have tested it also, and it did work. And we were like, we were like, you know what? Our entire Spheron network compute capacity was validated by these agents. So they were like, they became a worm, and they were just traveling inside the network until the time they have funds. They were like able to like do validate systems and replicate themselves, do tons of different things. I think it is possible, and we have done it. But the implication is like everyone is hesitant to use it because you can't control it. Once it's fired, it's fired. You can't just roll it
Damn,
back.
that's like my mother's slipper.
Yeah.
Ironically, the number one threat to those agents is being scammed by other agents or humans, right? Like the number one threat is someone like prompt injects them and figures out a cool way to drain their funds. That's the actual number one threat right now.
Also,
So
they are
we
inherently
have few
black
more.
boxes, right? LLMs are still inherently black boxes. We pretty much understand only the surface of what the model is doing. All we do is just play around with the model weights and see if it doesn't hallucinate, right? And I feel like we are at a point where they are great at certain tasks, but I would not let Boeing write code using LLMs, right? So I would rather focus on having having them orchestrate and do low level tasks until we get to a point where LLMs don't, let's say, hallucinate at scale, and then we can see serious use cases, right? For now, what we have are really good autonomous agents that can get the job done, and in the next couple of years we'll only see them getting better and better.
Yeah, I think this question,
I just want to say one thing
please go
about
ahead.
that.
Sorry to cut you off.
Nah, because I mean, like, I get where you're coming from, but like, and someone pointed this out in the chat. Like, there are small language models. There are also agentic systems that have existed since the 1970s that no one uses because they weren't powerful enough back in the day because they lacked the cognitive glue of LLMs for the actual reinforcement for the actual like logical thinking. And when you pair those things together in loops, you do end up with like extremely powerful systems that have like that solve a lot of the hallucination problems right out of the box, right? I mean, like we know that with like Disciple and a couple of other frameworks that the CIA used to use. So like I'm just telling you right now that like the technology is here already. We can already do this. Hallucination is the least of our worries. Personal opinions only. I'm just being blunt.
Yeah, I think everyone has. I have a very different opinion. I think on the tech side, LMs are still gonna be like hallucinating a lot, and that becomes a like lot of problem. And I want to see how it can be broken down the line. The reason being because like as these LLMs become more monolith, it just becomes like really tricky to solve that. But again, it's I just want to see that how it can be solved. But coming back to this question again, I think she has asked like very good question. Like with the cost of building and training coming down, do you use or utility of SLMs in a specific application? But I don't think the cost of building and training the higher end models is coming down like anymore. Like I think it's gonna be like it's becoming tough and like nowadays. Like now we used to use H100, now we need to use H200, and then suddenly like we'll be using V200 as more data parameters and everything will come into the picture. I think it's gonna be like I don't know like how the world is going to. I'm not gonna sure that we are gonna see a lot of SLMs coming in, which are very specialized language models around different use cases. For example, somebody who is very specialized into specific use case of law, or let's say there's a doctor who has a different way of looking into patient, and that doctor want to has its own have its own SLM model, and he can just work with some engineers or even himself vibe coded to like fine tune and train the entire models around it. I think tons of different things which can be coming back, and then Web3 agent one. I'll give you the mic,
I just got
Tim. But is the benefit for Web3 agents? I think there is no difference between Web3 agent and Web2. I don't like why do people even think that Web3 agents are different. Web3 agents are same. They run the same way. The only thing they have is component of decentralization, or even sometimes even not that, but they have a token. So if the token is there, then also they are decent. Like they are Web3 agents. But apart from that, we have this financial angle and instrument which basically comes along with it, which we have to. But yeah,
Okay,
Tim.
I mean, like the question is broken into two parts. I'm going to address the first one first, and then I'm going to comment on your second part. The first one, just go to my Twitter account, my X account right now, and go look at my pinned post. There's a 20-second video on there generated by an agentic framework. Instead of me spending $10 million training another foundational model, I can use SLMs. I can use smaller orchestration abilities, smart ways of unlocking the secrets within those models, and do something that's nearly 3 times longer than VO3 at the same quality with full consistency, right? Like there is a use for SLMs. There's a use for systems thinking, like backchaining loops. There's all sorts of uses for these smaller things that are mostly ignored by people, again, founding a startup and spending tens of millions of dollars on H100s and 200s to train yet another model. I feel like we have so many open models available now, like it behooves us to actually use them, to actually try to take advantage of them to their fullest potential and unlock that. And then part of that is right now we have a showcase agent. It's a Web3 agent. Her name is Hollywood Agent. You can literally just go make videos. You just tag her in X and say, here's my prompt. Go make me a free 5-second video. She'll make you a video, right? And I think there's something powerful about that Web3 loop because she has a token and eventually we'll unlock some abilities that you can do. Staking will give you better rights to like making the videos and promoting them, that sort of thing. I didn't make the agent myself. I'm just providing the technology, right? But I certainly took a portion of the token as like a reserve payment for it. And I think that's a valuable incentive for companies to be able to provide frontier products without having to bankrupt all the people who want to try to use them. So there's something, I know it's speculative, but that financial loop also makes sense. Now, I'll agree with you that at the moment, like a pure native Web3 driven agent doesn't necessarily offer anything in technical capability over a Web2 agent. 100%. I agree with that. I think that will change. My entire goal in life is to change that. So just stay tuned to whatever, what we're working on with you guys and others.
Amazing. I think we are getting a lot of questions, but I think we can just
Yeah.
that would
We,
an hour. We have already taken a lot of time from them.
Serena, I
It
think
was
we'll have
supposed to
you
be
on the
45
stream
minutes.
one day and we'll take these questions live. But yeah, this has been pretty interesting. Like, this is one of the streams which really went off the time and we didn't really feel it. Honestly, we didn't have to pull anything in. Things were very natural onto it. I don't know, you didn't ask me why I was in Web3, but I'm going to answer it. It's for the girls. I'm just kidding again. So it's amazing. Like it's a girl repellent, honestly, once you tell anybody you are in crypto. So mostly my whole POV of this space was pretty amazing in terms of understanding agents, what people really think of and what they really are. And this is chill time. So Rishabh, Tim, and Prashant, for 1 minute, you can go ahead and tell about your projects. We are running out of time, honestly, but you can keep it short and tell us about it. Everybody's passing the ball.
Prashant, you
you
should
wanna
go
go?
first.
Okay, let me go here. So at Spiron, we are building the world's largest community power data center, and the whole idea is that make the compute accessible around the globe, like by anyone, by everyone. So what does that mean? Let's say you have a compute capacity which you are not using, you can just go to Spheron, connect it, and sell it. Somebody who is in need of it, they will come to Spheron and they'll buy it. Or the other way around. if they don't love Spheron, they can spin up their own Spheron. We don't stop that. So essentially, like, you don't even really need to have us in between. You really don't need to see the face of Spheron again and again just to lease out the compute. You can have your own. Like, we don't stop that. So it's all permissionless, decentralized system of compute, where we are building the world's largest community power data center. I'll pause here.
Yep. So just to give a quick background on Hive before we finish off, we are basically building the intelligence layer for building on-chain AI agents. So think of us. You've all seen the bell curve memes. You have like the guys who are the doers are on the bell curve ends. And those are the kind of people we are building for. Essentially, if you, again, OpenAI have their own SDKs for building AI agents. Just build your own AI agents, use Hive API, and build n number of applications. If anybody is interested, here in the chat, feel free to hit us up. We'll give you some grants as well, help you help you set up and get going. So that's basically quick background on us.
Hey, and devs love grants. You know we do. So Scripted right now is building things that we cannot decentralize today, like AI video, the things that are too big for zero knowledge proofs, things that if there's 1 pixel difference, hash-based systems fail. But that's boring mathematical stuff, and it's a little downstream. So what we're doing is we're going to market with decentralized AI products, generative AI products, things that people want to use, either for agents or have their agents use, or just want creative freedom, and they want it liquid, they want it fast, they want to have it be scalable, right? And the way we're showcasing that is with the Hollywood agent in conjunction with, it was launched on Virtuals by Rahila Ziffer and her group. And we're very excited about it because when it launched, it was 2,100% oversubscribed. And it has a very rabid and loyal fan base. And I'm very excited that we can be a provider to show how this stuff can roll out and not just be under the control of the monoliths, while adding new kinds of technical capabilities stuff we haven't seen before. So using that as a go-to-market, eventually we'll be able to secure that computation, not by trusting us as the GPU renderers, but by allowing people to sign up and do it with us and actually spreading that compute out amongst incentivized nodes. And those nodes are actually going to be agents. That's the cool part, right? And that's just one of the many services that we want to enable through things like the Agent Commerce Protocol and Virtuals. So the TLDR for me is we have a very narrow focus right now. It is providing decentralized AI video, as well as an API for it, as well as a nice SASE tool for it, so that you can go online and you can just make new kinds of things. It's very different from the second part is that downstream, we are building a new kind of category for decentralized networks. It's called Inori. It's research backed. I have 2 amazing grad students working with me on it, and a wonderful team here at Scripted. So if you'd like to know more, just follow me on X. My handle is COTTENIO, Cotton.io. It rhymes with Cotton Eyed Joe, the song. And anyone else on LinkedIn, just Tim Cotton, TIMCOTTEN. And it's the E that's tricky. All right. Thank you so much.
Amazing. So before you guys jump off, the whole POV was to actually put down, we have a Road to TG campaign live right now. And people who are already whitelisted, now it's your time for mission 2. And I am just going to showcase this. You can go ahead and utilize it. You can do it through the console itself. You can, as we can see, you can go ahead and utilize any machine. You can go and do it on top of Supernodas. And you can do it on Clippy as well. Clippy is one of our newest products. And we have been seeing a lot of surge on this and pretty amazing support from the community as well. And you can just go ahead and create videos. And we have been seeing a lot of people utilizing it. So on the application side, you can do a lot of things with Spheron, with Supernodas, and with Clippy as well. And some amazing videos that have been generated by the community. And we are very proud of it. And so anybody who's watching this, you can go ahead and utilize it. Super excited for the upcoming time. And people who are watching this, thank you so much for coming here and to the next episode. Thank you so much, guys.